On the night I needed her most, the person I trusted with my whole heart twisted the knife deeper than anyone else ever could. One moment I thought I was safe, and the next I was left broken, humiliated, and betrayed in front of everyone who mattered. They didn't just take something from me, they stripped away my dignity, my future, and the very life I thought was mine. But here's the part they never saw coming. I wasn't going to stay a victim. Every scar, every sleepless night, every tear only fueled the fire inside me. And when the time came, I made sure their downfall was as unforgettable as the pain they caused me. But before I tell you how I turned their betrayal into their greatest regret, you need to understand where it all began. My name is Sarah, and for most of my life, I believed family was unshakable. My mother always told me, blood is stronger than anything else. I clung to that belief like it was a shield, something that would protect me no matter how cruel the world became. And for years, it seemed true. Growing up, we didn't have much, but we had each other. My father worked long hours at a factory, and my mother cleaned houses. My younger sister, Emily, was the bright spot of my life. She had a laugh that could soften even the hardest day, and a way of making me believe that things would always get better. We shared everything. Our room, our secrets, our dreams. She'd tell me she wanted to travel the world, while I dreamed of becoming a writer. I never imagined that the very person who promised me forever would one day turn my world into ashes. Life wasn't easy, but it was steady. I worked part-time at a bookstore while finishing college. Emily worked at a local cafe. Our bond was so strong that people often said we were inseparable. When our father died, suddenly of a heart attack, it felt like the ground beneath us crumbled. My mother fell into a quiet depression, and I stepped up to hold the family together. Emily was devastated, but she leaned on me, clinging to me like I was the only anchor in the storm. I cooked, worked, studied, and tried to keep the house standing. And every night, Emily would thank me, hug me, and whisper, "I don't know what I'd do without you." If only I had known what those words would come to mean. Emily wasn't just my sister, she was my best friend. I trusted her with everything, including my deepest fears and most fragile hopes. When I landed a small scholarship for writing, she was the first one I told. She squealed with pride, hugging me as if it were her own victory. When I got my first serious boyfriend, Daniel, she was the one I introduced him to first. I wanted her approval, her blessing. She laughed and teased, but she welcomed him into the family. At least, that's what I thought. Daniel was charming, polite, and supportive. He encouraged me to chase my dreams. And for the first time in years, I felt like maybe, just maybe, life was finally turning around. I was building something beautiful, a career, a relationship, a future. And Emily was right there beside me, cheering me on. Or so I believed. Looking back, the signs were there. Small, almost invisible cracks in the perfect picture I had painted. Emily started spending more time with Daniel, claiming she was just getting to know him better. I thought it was sweet, a sign that my sister truly cared about the man I loved. Sometimes she'd text him inside jokes that I wasn't part of, or laugh a little too brightly at his jokes. But I brushed it off. That's just Emily. I told myself, friendly, playful, a little too open at times. Then there were the nights she'd come home late, offering vague excuses about studying with friends or working extra shifts. I trusted her completely. I never questioned, never doubted, because family doesn't betray you, right? I was blind, too busy juggling work, school, and holding the family together. I didn't see the storm building right inside my home. I was exhausted, but proud of Emily for growing, proud of myself for surviving, proud of us for staying close after losing Dad. I wanted her to succeed, to shine. So when she mentioned wanting to apply to colleges out of state, I encouraged her. When she asked to borrow money for applications, I gave her every cent I could spare. I sacrificed sleep, comfort, and sometimes even meals just to make sure she had what she needed. Because that's what sisters do. That's what I did. But sometimes the people you protect the most are the ones sharpening the knife behind your back. I remember one night, Emily looked at me differently. It wasn't the usual warmth in her eyes. It was something sharper, colder, like envy. It passed quickly, hidden behind a smile, but it sent a chill through me. I laughed it off, telling myself I was imagining things. But deep inside, a tiny voice whispered that something wasn't right. And I should have listened. Life kept moving forward, and so did I. My relationship with Daniel grew stronger. We talked about marriage, about building a life together. Emily seemed thrilled, always asking questions, always inserting herself into our plans. Sometimes too much, but I thought it was just her excitement spilling over. Until little by little, I noticed her pulling away from me, but closer to him. She stopped telling me everything. She avoided my questions with half smiles and quick changes of subject. And when Daniel wasn't around, she seemed restless, distracted, as if carrying a secret too heavy to hide. The air in our home grew tense, invisible walls rising between us. And though I tried to ignore it, deep down, I knew betrayal was coming. I thought I had built a life of trust, of loyalty, of family unbreakable even by tragedy. I believed my sister was my greatest ally, my safest place in a world full of uncertainty. But I was wrong, because the very person I sacrificed everything for was about to become the person who tore everything away from me. And when the truth finally came out, it didn't just break me. It destroyed everything I thought I knew about love, about family, about loyalty itself. But that was only the beginning. I should have seen it coming. The late nights, the hidden glances, the way Emily would light up when Daniel entered the room, as if I suddenly became invisible. But denial is a powerful thing. I wanted so badly to believe in family, in loyalty, in love, that I ignored the truth even as it stared me in the face. The truth didn't whisper. It screamed. And once I finally heard it, I could never unhear it. It started with something small, an overheard laugh. One rainy evening, I came home early from work, exhausted from another shift at the bookstore. As I opened the front door, I heard voices drifting from the kitchen. Emily's laugh, light, playful, the one she always saved for moments when she wanted to charm someone. And then Daniel's voice, low and warm, answering back. At first, I smiled. Maybe they were planning something sweet for me. Maybe Emily was just being her friendly, overexcited self again. But then I heard it. Daniel's words, spoken in a tone I had never heard him use with me. If only she knew. The words slammed into me like ice water. I froze, hand still on the doorknob. My chest tightened. My breath caught. What was it I was supposed to know? I pushed the door open louder than necessary, pretending I hadn't heard. They both went silent, their laughter cut short like a rope snapped in half. Emily looked up at me, eyes wide, cheeks flushed. Daniel quickly grabbed his phone, pretending to scroll. Something inside me cracked. Over the next few weeks, the cracks widened into canyons. Emily became distant with me, yet closer with Daniel. She texted him constantly, even when we sat together at dinner. I caught her, wearing perfume she never wore for work. Daniel, once so attentive, started avoiding eye contact when we were all together. My suspicions gnawed at me, but I couldn't accept it. I told myself I was paranoid, jealous even. This is your sister, I reminded myself. She'd never do this. Not her, not family. But betrayal has a way of breaking through the thickest walls of denial. One night, I found proof. Emily had left her phone on the couch while she went to shower. It buzzed with a message. I shouldn't have looked, but something in me knew I had to. My hand shook as I picked it up. The message was from Daniel. Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you. The words burned into me, searing deeper than any wound I had ever felt. My vision blurred with tears, but I kept scrolling, message after message. Weeks' worth of secrets spilled across the screen. Plans to meet in secret, compliments he had never given me, promises he had whispered to her. And Emily, my sister, replied with love hearts, with words of devotion, with the kind of intimacy that should have been mine. My stomach churned. My world tilted. I dropped the phone as if it had scorched me, and I stumbled back, struggling to breathe. The people I trusted most, my blood and my love, had been conspiring behind my back. I couldn't hold it in. That night, I confronted them. Emily came out of her room, hair damp from her shower, wrapped in a towel. I stood there, shaking, holding her phone out like it was evidence in a trial. What is this? I demanded, my voice raw. She froze. For a split second, guilt flashed across her face. But then she smiled, a cruel, smug smile I had never seen before. You weren't supposed to find out like this, she said coldly. My heart stopped. Daniel walked in from the kitchen, his face pale, but his jaw set. He didn't deny it. He didn't even try. Instead, he stood beside her. Beside her. I'm sorry, Sarah, he said, though his tone was anything but, it just happened. It just happened. Those 3 words sliced me open. My sister, my boyfriend, my future, stolen, destroyed, mocked. Emily crossed her arms and added, maybe if you weren't so busy playing caretaker, someone wouldn't have looked elsewhere. The knife twisted deeper. My knees nearly gave out. I ran. The days after were a blur of pain. I stayed locked in my room, curtains drawn, barely eating, barely breathing. The house felt haunted, every corner echoing with their betrayal. My mother, oblivious, went about her routines, while the 2 of them carried on in whispers and stolen touches, right under my roof. I felt invisible, replaced, erased. Nights were the worst. I'd hear them together in the next room, their laughter stabbing through the walls like blades. Sometimes I'd bury my face in a pillow to muffle the sobs. Other times I'd clench my fists so tightly my nails drew blood just to feel something other than despair. The betrayal consumed me, dragging me into a darkness so deep I thought I'd never escape. But in that darkness, a new flame sparked. At first, it was faint, just a whisper. Don't let them win. Every tear I shed, every cruel laugh I overheard, every mocking glance they exchanged, it fed the fire inside me. I realized something powerful. I couldn't erase what they had done to me, but I could make sure they paid for it. They had stolen my love, my trust, my future. I would steal something from them far greater. But revenge isn't rushed. It's patient. It's calculated. And if I wanted it to be unforgettable, I had to wait. Watch. Plan. So I did. I started observing them carefully, the way Emily bragged about being the better sister when she thought no one was listening, the way Daniel talked big about his career plans, but relied on my contacts and support. I learned their weaknesses, Emily's pride, Daniel's greed, and slowly a plan began to take shape. I began regaining my strength in silence, pretending to accept what had happened, pretending to forgive. I put on a mask, one they were too arrogant to question. They thought I was broken, beaten. But behind the mask, I sharpened my resolve. Because the sweetest revenge isn't in the moment of betrayal. It's in the moment they least expect it, when their entire world collapses, just as mine did. The pain had carved me into someone new, no longer naive, no longer blind. I was patient now, silent, dangerous. And as I watched them laugh together, flaunting their betrayal, I promised myself one thing. They would never see me coming, and when my revenge finally struck, it would destroy them both. Patience is a weapon, silence is armor, and in the weeks that followed, I wrapped myself in both. Emily and Daniel thought they had won. They paraded their relationship around the house, laughing, whispering, flaunting the intimacy that once belonged to me. They mistook my quiet for defeat, my stillness for surrender. But I wasn't broken. I was sharpening. Every night, I lay awake, replaying their betrayal in my mind, fueling the fire inside me. And with every passing day, my plan grew clearer. They thought they had stolen my life, but I would take theirs apart, piece by piece, until they had nothing left but regret. It started with forgiveness. At least, that's what they believed. One morning, I walked into the kitchen where they sat together, sipping coffee like a happy couple. My chest still ached at the sight, but I forced a smile. "I can't keep living like this," I said softly. "We're family. I don't want to hate you both forever." Emily's eyes widened. She wasn't expecting mercy. Daniel shifted awkwardly, guilt flickering across his face. "I forgive you," I whispered. "Let's move forward." Emily nearly leapt from her chair to hug me. She thought she had won again. Daniel exhaled in relief. What they didn't know was that forgiveness was the first thread in the web I was weaving. By lowering their guard, I was pulling them exactly where I wanted them. Emily had always been proud, arrogant, even. She thrived on being the center of attention, the better sister, the one who shined brighter. I decided to use that against her. I encouraged her dreams, told her she deserved more, fed her ego until it was overflowing. I helped her polish her college applications, introduced her to contacts I had made through work, and even edited her essays late into the night. She thought I was rebuilding our bond. She thought I was lifting her up, but I was only setting her higher, so her fall would be fatal. Daniel's weakness was different. He was greedy, always wanting more, always chasing the next opportunity, but too lazy to do the hard work. So I dangled opportunities in front of him. Through my job at the bookstore, I knew a man who owned a small publishing house. Daniel fancied himself a businessman, always talking about his future empire. I dropped hints about connections, about possible investors, about doors I could open if only he stayed close to me. He took the bait. He started confiding in me again, pretending to care, pretending to rebuild what he had shattered. Emily noticed, but dismissed it, blinded by her own ambitions. I watched them both carefully, my trap tightening around them like a noose. The perfect moment came when Emily was accepted into a prestigious out-of-state program. Thanks to my help, she wanted a grand farewell party, something that would make her the star she believed she was. Daniel offered to host it at his apartment, and Emily insisted on inviting everyone, friends, extended family, even our mother. It was the perfect stage, and I would make sure the performance ended in disaster. The night of the party, I dressed carefully, not like the broken sister they thought I was, but like someone reborn, confident, radiant, untouchable. The room buzzed with laughter, music, and congratulations. Emily basked in the attention, glowing with pride. Daniel stayed by her side, smug and self-satisfied. No one suspected the storm brewing beneath my smile. As the night went on, I excused myself and slipped into Daniel's office. I had spent weeks preparing, gathering evidence of their affair, the texts, the photos, the proof of their betrayal. I had it all stored neatly, ready to reveal. But I wasn't just going to expose them. I was going to destroy them. on the large screen in Daniel's living room meant for a slideshow of Emily's achievements. I had connected my laptop. One click, and the truth would play out in front of everyone. Emily clinked her glass, ready to give a speech about her bright future. Daniel stood proudly beside her, his arm around her waist. And then the screen flickered. At first, it showed smiling photos of Emily, moments from childhood to present. Guests clapped, cheered. She beamed. But then the images shifted. Screenshots of secret texts, selfies she had sent to Daniel, messages of love and betrayal, time-stamped during the very nights I had been left alone. Gasps rippled through the room. The laughter died. Emily froze, her face draining of color. Daniel's eyes widened in horror. On the screen, his words appeared, "She'll never find out. You're the one I really want." The room erupted in whispers. Our mother covered her mouth, tears streaming. Friends exchanged shocked looks. Emily stammered, "No, this isn't." But there was no stopping it. The slideshow kept rolling, exposing every secret, every betrayal, every lie. Daniel tried to turn off the screen, but I had locked the controls. His panic only fueled the chaos. By the time it ended, the room was in stunned silence. And then, slowly, applause began. Not for Emily, not for Daniel, but for the truth. Emily's carefully crafted image crumbled in an instant. The friends who admired her now whispered about her cruelty. The mentors who had supported her now turned away in disappointment. Even our mother, once blind with love, looked at her with a mixture of sorrow and shame. Daniel didn't fare any better. His perfect boyfriend facade shattered, leaving only a coward exposed. His so-called business contacts withdrew, refusing to associate with a liar and a cheat. They tried to spin it, tried to blame me, but no one believed them. The evidence was undeniable. For the first time, they stood exactly where I had been, humiliated, broken, stripped of dignity. And I stood tall, but I wasn't finished. In the weeks that followed, Emily's acceptance to her program was revoked. The university didn't want a scandal tied to their name, especially after the story spread through whispers and social media. She was left with nothing, her pride crushed, her future stolen. Daniel, desperate for opportunities, begged for the contacts I had promised. Instead, I exposed his lies to them too, ensuring every door slammed shut in his face. He lost not only his reputation, but the fragile support of the very people he needed most. And when they turned to each other for comfort, they found only blame. Their relationship, once so intoxicating, became poisonous. Fights erupted daily, accusations flying, their love rotting into hatred. I watched it all unfold from a distance, silent and satisfied. They thought they could take everything from me, but now, stripped bare, exposed, and ruined, they finally understood. Betrayal has a price, and I was the one who made them pay it. But revenge, as sweet as it tasted, came with a question that lingered in the quiet hours of the night. Had I destroyed them, or had I become something darker in the process? The night of the party was a turning point, but it wasn't the end. Revenge isn't a single strike. It's the ripple that keeps spreading long after the stone is thrown. When the lights went out on that humiliating slideshow, when the guests filed out in stunned silence, Emily and Daniel were left standing in ruins. But their downfall didn't stop at humiliation. No, it grew, it spread, until their entire lives collapsed around them. And I made sure to watch every piece fall. For as long as I could remember, Emily had thrived on attention. She needed the world to see her, admire her, envy her. Her acceptance into the program out of state was supposed to be her ticket to freedom, her shining escape from the shadow of being the younger sister. But now, that acceptance letter was worthless. The university quietly rescinded her offer. Their email was cold, professional, but the message was brutal. Given recent developments and concerns regarding conduct, we cannot proceed with your admission at this time. Emily was devastated. She screamed, cried, tore the letter into pieces, as if shredding paper could undo the truth. I watched from the doorway, silent, as she collapsed onto the floor, sobbing into her hands. This was the sister who once mocked me for playing caretaker, the sister who thought betrayal had no consequences. Now she was the one with no future, no direction, no pride left to cling to. And the bitter irony, she had destroyed herself. Daniel tried to recover, tried to spin the story in his favor. He called old friends, reached out to contacts, begged for business opportunities. But the damage was irreversible. The screenshots of his messages had circulated far beyond that party. In our small community, reputation was everything, and his was now rotting. Employers wanted nothing to do with him. Friends stopped answering his calls. Even his own family distanced themselves, ashamed of his behavior. He became desperate. I saw it in his eyes when he showed up at the bookstore one afternoon, unshaven, exhausted, a shell of the confident man I once knew. "Sarah, please," he begged, voice trembling. "Can you at least talk to them for me? Put in a good word. I can't lose everything." I looked at him, this man who had once promised me forever, this man who had chosen my sister over me, and for the first time, I felt nothing. "No," I said simply and walked away. His downfall wasn't just financial. It was spiritual. He had lost not only opportunities, but also the illusion of control, the mask he had worn so proudly. Without it, he was just another liar, another coward, forgotten and discarded. Emily and Daniel had once thought they were untouchable together, bound by the thrill of secrecy and rebellion. But when secrecy became exposure, when rebellion turned into ruin, their bond rotted into bitterness. I could hear them at night, arguing through the walls. "You ruined me," Emily screamed. "You think I ruined you? You're the one who got careless." Daniel shouted back. Their love, once intoxicating, became poison. Every word was venom, every glance a dagger. They blamed each other for everything: the humiliation, the rejection, the collapse of their futures. And slowly, inevitably, they turned on each other. Until one day, Daniel was gone, packed up, vanished without a goodbye, and Emily was left behind, alone, drowning in the wreckage of the empire she thought she'd built on my pain. Through it all, my mother watched silently. At first, she was devastated, not just by the betrayal itself, but by the realization that she had been blind to it. For weeks, she avoided me, ashamed, unsure how to face the daughter she had unknowingly abandoned. But slowly, she began to understand. One night, as I sat at the kitchen table writing, she joined me. Her eyes were tired, her hands trembling as she reached across the table to take mine. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I should have seen. I should have protected you. Instead, I let her hurt you." Tears stung my eyes, but I squeezed her hand gently. "It wasn't your fault, Mom. She chose this. He chose this. But I survived." And in that moment, I realized something important. Revenge had given me closure, but forgiveness, not of them, but of myself and my mother, gave me peace. The more Emily crumbled, the more Daniel vanished, the stronger I felt. I poured my energy into my writing, the one dream I had always carried. The pain, the betrayal, the fire of revenge, it all fueled my words. Stories poured out of me, raw and powerful, each one a reflection of the storm I had survived. People noticed. My professors praised my work. A local magazine published one of my essays. For the first time in years, I wasn't defined by my pain. I was defined by my strength. I wasn't just the girl who had been betrayed. I was the woman who had risen from the ashes. And yet, even as I rebuilt myself, Emily remained a shadow in the corner of my mind. She drifted aimlessly after Daniel left, unable to find work, unable to escape the reputation she had earned. Friends abandoned her. Even extended family avoided her. She became the cautionary tale, whispered about at gatherings, the sister who betrayed blood for lust and lost everything in the process. Sometimes, late at night, I'd hear her crying in her room. The sound pierced me, not with pity, but with a strange sense of justice. She had wanted everything I had. Now she had nothing, and I finally had peace. It happened months later when Emily finally approached me. Her eyes were sunken, her voice hoarse, her pride stripped bare. "Sarah," she whispered, "I know I don't deserve it, but can you ever forgive me?" For a moment, I just looked at her. My sister, my betrayer, the girl who had once been my best friend, my confidant, my family. I thought about all the nights I had cried because of her, all the dreams she had shattered, all the trust she had burned to ash. And then I thought about the strength I had found because of her betrayal, the fire I had discovered in myself. "I don't hate you anymore," I said quietly, "but forgiveness doesn't mean we can go back. You chose your path, and I chose mine." She broke down, sobbing at my feet, but I didn't comfort her. Not this time. I walked away, leaving her to face the silence she had created for herself. In the end, revenge had given me what betrayal had stolen: power. Emily lost her pride. Daniel lost his future. And I gained something far greater: the strength to rise, to rebuild, to live without chains. But even now, sometimes I wonder, did I truly win by destroying them? Or did I only free myself by realizing I didn't need them to begin with? And if you were in my place with your own blood turning against you, would you forgive? Or would you destroy?